So this might be one of the most muffin world's smallest violin articles I've ever read, because this is like an attempt to get sympathy, and of course this is from the Wall Street Journal, but it's really funny that companies are complaining about this, that they're getting ghosted, and it's suddenly rude and unprofessional when they've been doing this shit for years and trying to justify it. So I think it's pretty funny that they're having the same problem. So what is ghosting? Ghosting is a term from dating where the person you're talking to just stops responding to you. You may even have been on a couple dates with them, and then you just can't get a hold of them anymore. And ghosting was kind of transferred over to the work world, where you're going through the interview process, and then the company just stops responding to you. And if you try to call them, they have your number blocked. If you try to email them, they have you blocked. And they never get back to you, even if they say they're going to, that sort of thing. Now, I think there's two kind of different types of ghosting. The first one, which some people complain about, and I think it's unjustified, is if they send in an application and they don't get a response. To be fair, companies get probably hundreds, if not thousands, of applications for each position. And I can understand why they wouldn't have time to get back to everybody. Also, I think because sending in I guess it depends on the application. If it's just a resume, then no. If they make you fill out like a half hour to an hour long job application where you have to re-enter everything from your resume, then yeah, they probably should get back to you. But if it's just something where you just send in a resume or an email or something, then I don't think they're under any obligation. At the same time, though, considering like everything's automated, I don't think it would be that hard to just say, select all emails except for this one, send out generic form letter, we're sorry you weren't selected, we've moved forward with someone else. I don't think that would really be difficult, but they don't really do that. The thing that's more irritating is when they express interest in you and you have at least one interview and then they ghost you. And in a lot of cases, they'll lie and they'll say, we're going to get back to you either way, or we'll expect us to call you sometime next week, or something like that. And then they're gone and they never respond to you.
Right.
So this can range from just having a phone interview. You might have like a preliminary screening interview. I mean, there's a lot of layers you have to go through in the job interview process. So normally, for a professional job, in my experience, you have a screening interview from a recruiter or someone from HR. Then you have an interview with up to 3, sometimes 4 members from the team or the department you're interviewing for. Then you'll often get some sort of assignment that you have to complete, which often takes quite a bit of time. Then you might have another interview with senior management, and then you'll get a job offer. And I find that's generally speaking how the process goes. So I kind of feel if you're in that process, you're 100% owed some sort of, I don't expect like feedback. I just expect a simple, we've decided to move forward with another candidate. But in my experience, over half of companies don't do that, even after you have an interview. So I've interviewed with companies where I've had like 3 or 4 interviews and then they've ghosted me. And if you email them back, they won't talk to you. They won't let you know that you're not participating anymore. I don't think it should be legal. I think there should be a law where if you have an interview with someone, you have to tell them whether or not they got the job. Because a lot of people might base kind of their plans around it. Because like they'll lie to you, they'll say, we really like you, you have a really good chance of getting it, that sort of thing. And then they'll just never get back to you. And the process can take a while. And I understand it can take a while because they have a lot of applicants to go through, people are on vacation, that sort of thing. But like the least they could do is maybe every week or every week, like 10 days or even every 2 weeks, send you an update email we're still going through the process, you're still under consideration, or we've decided to move forward with someone else. But by and large, they won't do that. And I've heard all kinds of excuses. We're too busy. It's like it's so much effort to send a form email. We've decided to move forward with another candidate. That takes hours of HR's time to do that for like 5 people. Because their time is valuable. Your time's not valuable. They may have given you an assignment that took like 5 or 6 hours to do, and you could have been doing freelance work or something else. But that's not important. What's important is that like 5 minutes it would take to send it wouldn't even take 5 minutes. That like 3 minutes it would take to send an email of like 1 or 2 sentences. And I heard like, oh, well, it opens you up to litigation and lawsuit. And like, I don't really care, to be perfectly honest. Like, I don't care. Cry me some more crocodile tears. There can be all the litigation in the world. I don't really give a shit, to be perfectly honest. So you have that stuff. And now apparently potential employees have started to do this to employers, where they've stopped responding to communication, they aren't showing up for work, and companies are beside themselves. Like, how can people behave in such an unprofessional manner? They've invested so much time in these candidates, and they just don't show up. And it's it's so sad. Let's go through this article. Joe Weech, a Washington-based recruiter, found a software engineer she planned to hire, one with skills and experiences so rare she dubbed her a purple unicorn, recruiting speaking for a perfect find. Now, a lot of job recruiters are kind of scum. They will message you, they'll just do cold calls, and they'll message you for like industries you don't work in, for like jobs you're not qualified for. They won't respond to you. I think they're paid by the number of people that they message or something like that. And I've had recruiters who give me false information. Like they'll tell me, oh, you should read this. And then, because I know there was one interview where they gave me some stuff that the company had done. They're like, oh, this is the kind of work you'll be doing, so like read this. And then when I got to the interview, they're like, oh, that's not what we do. That's just some stuff we put out for the public, which is kind of double bullshit. But the recruiter was like, oh, yeah, sorry about that. But no, recruiters are kind of scum. I really can't take them. So let's see here. The candidate aced multiple interviews for a job supporting a federal contract. She breezed through a technical test. She had already nabbed a top secret security clearance. Hiring managers wanted to bring her aboard. Weech called the candidate, intending to make an offer. Suddenly, calls and texts went unreturned. Weech asked a colleague to reach out. He also got nowhere. Weech sent a playful note. Please let me know that you have not been kidnapped by aliens. I'm worried about you. Because that's professional. That's like the most professional thing. Like some snarky, passive-aggressive, like hipster piece of shit thing. Like, I don't know. That kind of irritates me. I always try to be professional in interviews. A simple, are you still interested in the position, or I've been having trouble reaching you, is there something wrong, is fine. Like, what kind of I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I'm old school. So, be polite, be nice, but be professional until you know the person properly. In fields ranging from food service to finance, recruiters and hiring managers say a tightening job market and a sustained labor shortage have contributed to a surge in professionals abruptly cutting off contact and turning silent. The type of behavior is often associated with online dating than office life. The practice is prolonging hiring. Yeah, companies complaining about prolonging hiring, forcing companies to overhaul their processes, and tormenting recruiters. Recruiters are scum, who find themselves under constant pressure. If you don't love your job as a recruiter, you'll beat your head on your desk. Okay? Where once it was companies ignoring job applicants or snubbing candidates after interviews, the world has flipped. Candidates agree to job interviews and fail to show up, never saying more. Some accept jobs only to not appear for the first day of work, no reason given, of course. Instead of formally quitting and during a potentially awkward conversation with a manager, some employees leave and never return. Bosses realize they've only quit after a series of unsuccessful attempts to reach them. The hiring process begins anew. That's amazing that people are doing that. And it's like, why are people like adopting like these unprofessional standards when we do the exact same thing? I mean, another thing that they do is they post like misleading job descriptions. I've had that happen a lot of times where the job description has nothing to do with the actual job. Like a common thing is they'll make the position seem a lot more senior than it is, and then they'll like lowball you. So I've had that happen a number of times where there'll be like a position in my industry, and then there'll be one with senior in front of it, and the position without senior in front of it might pay like $15,000 more than the position with senior in front of it. So they tried to bribe you with misleading job titles is another one. It's like, you can make less money, but you can have junior manager in your name. I don't really care. I just want the money. Let's see here. The rate of professionals. Okay, this is from a couple years ago. Candidates are winding up with multiple offers, and you can't accept them all. Individuals just inherently don't like conflict or disappointing people. Thus, ghosts. Interviews with more than a dozen hiring managers and recruiters across the U.S. suggest the practice is on the rise, forcing companies to rethink how they operate. Like not doing it themselves, being more professional during interviews, keeping the people up to date. Also, we don't know how many of these people they ghosted, and then the main candidate fell through, and then they like try to get the second or third person who they'd ignored, and that person just tells them basically to fuck off. Let's see here. For a national restaurant operator, now books interviews knowing up to 50% of candidates for entry-level roles likely won't show up. Let's see here. She knows trouble could still lie ahead, so on the candidate's first day, she typically calls hours before start time, offering a friendly reminder, look forward to seeing you later. Even this is no guarantee. I've had it where I've talked to them that morning to confirm what time they're coming in this afternoon, and then they don't show up. They stop returning your phone calls. Oh no, Muffin. Oh. And suddenly the recruiter is now a telemarketer. One recruits ghost, and a hiring manager will typically make 3 to 5 calls to an incoming employee. Consider this this notice, the job offer has been rescinded. Let's see here. Okay, would often note in an internal tracking system whether an applicant had failed to show up for an interview or job offer, a blackball that the candidate did not get hired in the future. I love these people. There's a word I'm thinking in my head that I can't say on YouTube, but actually, there's a couple words I can't say on YouTube. I'm sure you can guess what they are. She says she has no database for ghosts. I have a list of names in my head that have burned me so bad. But you can't be on the list of recruiters who's burned people so bad. Like if you go to Glassdoor, there's a lot of companies who, if you look at like the interview page, they'll just say this company's unprofessional, this company ghosted me. But yeah. Let's see here. Since it's unclear when someone may drop out, 4 individuals accept a job and then fail to show up for onboarding only days later. As I said, what happens in a lot of these cases is the job is pitched completely differently in the interview and the job posting. And then once they get hired, they get sent like a bunch of shit that has nothing to do with the job, and it turns out the whole thing was like a lie. And then they're just like, screw it. If they're not going to be honest with me, I'm not going to be honest with them. 10th of registered nurses go dark entirely after they reach out. I can't believe it happened to me. Let's see here. And candidates, let's see, may not be blamed for going cold. I think they learned it from the employers. He said employers were notorious for never getting back to people and only letting them know what was going on if it turned out they wanted them for a next step. The employers have been far worse than any of the job seekers. Still, HR teams are bemoaning the emotional roller coaster they've suddenly find themselves on, dealing with the kind of what just happened situations once reserved for those on the dating circuit. It's my job to keep it running. I can't hire people because no one wants to work. I don't really believe that. Let's see here. Her company has adjusted schedule, working 30 hours, get paid for 40 and throw in perks. Usually you get their names memorized. When they stand you up or ghost you, it's definitely a red X on them. I've red X'd a lot of companies for that reason. Like there's some companies who like just lie so egregiously on their like application forms, be it about the salary, be it about what the actual job is, that sort of thing. Most of the comments at the bottom are people just kind of complaining about how like this is just whining and this is like just why should we feel bad for these people? Because they did this for years, and this is kind of one of the things that I used to be a lot more like economically free market and a lot more kind of libertarian. But the process of going through job applications and being unemployed has really made me a lot more anti-business than I was at the beginning. Because a lot of these people are just scum. And like I said, I don't really it's not my problem if there's like litigation or whatever, or like some people are like, oh, I'm not being hired because of racism. I don't really like care. I'm not obligated to care. So yeah, I think this is good news. Hopefully more and more people do this. The companies probably won't learn their lesson, but to see the HR departments have to go through this is pretty fun. It's I think a good thing. They won't learn their lesson, but sometimes all you can do is just make your enemies bleed and make them bleed badly. And that looks like that's what's happening. So, yeah, God.